Thank you for Patreon now for donating to the Patreon.
Hey guys, it's Monasterio, so back on Card Fight Vanguard deck profile. So we enjoyed it, like, comment, subscribe, and also sorry. This time today, we are covering set 4 for Fennell, the finale. I'm joking, it's not the finale actually. But, Fennell, the first of the 3 Lyrical Monasterio Halloween lines that got revealed, and as I like to call her, crits on legs that doesn't like me winning. What I mean by this is, like I said last time in Herminia with Palvi, where Palvi pretty much shows up at every inconvenient moment for me, Fennell does the same thing but with crits. And what I mean by this is every single fucking time that I need them not to see a crit, doesn't matter how many are left, they will see a crit. I remember there was a time recently that I think it was the Spinal Marquee game where I literally sat there and I did the math to prove the argument of point that it had the same odds of seeing a crit in an off-camera game that Fennell did, and Fennell pulled that crit there to win when Spinal Marquee didn't. I don't know what the fucking thing was, but anyways, let's go and get the starters, shall we, and see what we got, and we can see what I mean by crit on legs. First for today, we have our starter in Hop and Step Finel. Grade 0 boost 5k, Shosis K base. Auto Rotopine wins like a draw card. Standard starter, and that's free draw if you win second. Yeah. There's not much more I can say about this. The line, I believe, does need this because I think all of the ride line goes when you ride this upon a grade, whatever the previous grade was, with Fennell and its card name, activate the skill. If I'm wrong, we're about to find out. But, just in case, might as well go for the full line anyway, especially because, come on, she's cute. And I don't know why the grade 0s and grade 1s are always like, well, the grade 0 is always the cutest to me, and then the grade 1s are kind of iffy sometimes. Like, they're either really good or they're really not. And then the grade 2s I never like, and then the grade 3s are, again, iffy. So, yeah, all around, this is a nice starter. And yeah, Fennell's the starter here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Then we have our over trigger in Fantastic Fennell, Katrina. Grade 0 boost, 50k shield, 5k power. I am really struggling not to laugh right now because I watched something really funny before this and I am literally like fighting the urge to laugh. Anyways, you over trigger, I'm over trigger in your deck. We're gonna be able to trigger with that guard, draw a card, choose one of your use, get split with a turn, and if you reveal it during your check, activate its addition effect, which you get during this fight, you get during your turn. All your rear guards get plus 1,000, not 1 million. I don't know. I see this is how to scratch it. I am trying not to laugh. Anyways, get 10,000 power. So all around, pretty solid. I mean, 10k to an entire board is great. This deck doesn't rear guard rush heavy like Fort Hermina does to some extent, or Fortia does. I mean, it can in the late game if the opponent doesn't interrupt you. But, I mean, being able to give 10k to rear guards in general is great, especially in this deck where you're basically giving your front row either a pseudo-persona ride or an actual persona ride or more during each of your turns. And then on top of that, 2 units, including the vanguards, is going to get an extra crit. And if your luck is anything like mine with this deck, where the deck will just see crits consistently, yeah, any amount of numbers that puts numbers behind that crit pressure is all around appreciated. So Katrina's our ride deck, or not a ride deck, is our over trigger because it fits the theme. It's a funny name. There's not much more I can say about it. One of Katrina. Then we have our normal triggers. First, we're on 3 copies of Snowed Skipped Palvi. Grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 4k power, not critical trigger, front trigger, continues guard circle. If your opponent's vanguards are grade 3 or greater, 5k shield, 20k shield, nice to have. It increases numbers of front row. In fact, this was the deck that I realized that Palvi is against me in with the Hermina thing, where in that Spinal Marquee game, in an off-camera match, where Spinal Marquee was so close to winning, and even if they saw crits, Spinal Marquee was fine. It just had to not be the front trigger. The last Palvi in the deck happened to be on that second drive check, and that just screwed over the entirety of Spinal Marquee's ability to win. So, Palvi all around is a great card. It's a 20k shield. It has numbers to front row, and you have crit sacking abilities like this deck is capable of doing. You obviously want to have fronts there to back it up. But yeah, if you want to win and you play against this deck, just make sure Palvi's not there. Just make sure Palvi's not there, because, Palvi's gonna hit you in the face when you least expect it, and that's gonna hurt the most because it came at the worst opportune time. So we have Palvi. Then we have our normal crits, or our crits actually. So we run a total of 8 crits, 4 of them being original style El Shuka, grade 0 boost, 15k shield, 5k power. I know when building this deck, I built this deck with the idea that I was not gonna see any of my triggers, so I tried to rig it with triggers I liked and triggers that I know normally show up well for me, and I didn't think for a second that might come back to bite me in the ass if the deck actually works consistently, because if you remember what I said in the Fortia deck profile with El Shuka, she shows up whenever I just think about her. So, just imagine that with a deck that already crit sacks inherently and already has extra crits added to its units. Now, imagine that when we add a crit that will literally show up when I just think about her. Yeah, we kind of already see the problem. I could just run 1 crit and I'd probably be fine. But no, I decided to go 8 crits, which, is fun. That's fine. You know, Shocking Candy Elias, this can really be any other crit you want. Great Zone boost, 15k shield, 5k power. But you know, if it's the Halloween theme, but you know what, also if it's the Halloween theme, me not winning against this deck. I have not won a match. Well, I've won matches against Fennell, but like, I have not won matches easily against Fennell because, yeah, guess what comes down in the early game when the Vanguard swings for the first attack? This. Guess what comes down every other time? This. Guess what comes down when I don't want it to? This. Like, I swear to you, this deck has it out for me when I want it to lose, but when I want it to win, it works so well. I don't know why. It's the one deck that consistently works on both sides. It's just you don't want to work consistently on both sides. 8 crits, though, because, you know, pressure out the wazoo in our 3 fronts. Then we have 4 copies of Love of Cats Lazan, Great Zone boost, 15k shield, 5k power. Okay, first up, Moon. Second up, you know, screw it, might as well try a new heal. We can use Anika later, and yeah, she's cute, and honestly, we don't need heals in this deck, because all we have is crits, but yeah, 4 of Lazan, she works. I've never really had to see the deck Miracle Heal before, because these just end the game beforehand, but I mean, if I had to Miracle Heal, I feel like Lazan might eventually work, so 4 of. And then we have our orders. We have the most important card of the deck, which is the orders. We run a total of 11. We are on 5 of one art, and we are on 6 of the other art. I literally picked this off of which art I like more, which in this case was this one. And that is Trick and Treat. They both do the exact same thing, but they just have different arts. They are both grade 1 normal orders, continuous. You may have to 16 Trick or Treats in the deck, and then play this card. You have a Finel in this card name. Perform either of the following according to the number of times you played an order with the same card name as this card during your turn. 1 time, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards, and they may put it to bottom. If they do not, you draw a card. 2 times, you draw a card and countercharge 1, and 3 times you just to 1 grade 3 less card from your drop zone, call it to rear guard. Cool. I remember the first time we used, I thought it was like, you know, every other card that has intervals was like 1 or more times, 2 or more times, 3 or more times. But no, it's a hard 1, which actually makes this deck a lot less broken than it was when I first tested it out. But because again, I tested it out with that theory in mind. But then basically what I've learned is your opponent will never in their right mind let you proc off this. In fact, in that Spinal Marquee matchup, I literally could afford to not let that proc off because I could just keep sending back the draw triggers I kept calling from Spinal Marquee. But cool, if they don't send something back, because maybe it's important to them, free draw. Then you get another free draw and a counter charge, which again, being an order you play for free is great. And then you get to call something from drop zone, meaning you get to trigger more skills and you get more rear guard rush. All around, pretty solid order. This deck can search it out a lot and it can refetch it from drop zone. And there's enough of them in the deck to get a good amount of numbers off it. So it's a nice 11 of, in my opinion. And then we have our grade 1s that are normal units. We run 4 copies of Prank Explorer Crispenia, one of my favorite grade 1s in terms of art. Grade 1 boost, 5k shield, 8k base. Auto one plays on the rear guard circle. Counterboss one to search your deck or drop zone for up to 1 Trick and Treat. Reveal it, put it to your hand, and if you check, you shuffle it. So cool, it can recycle them from drop zone if you run through all of them too early, or, you know, it can just search your deck, which is preferred. By the way, if you open with any of these, try to keep it's at least 3 of them or 4 of them in your hand by the time you get to first grade 3 turn, but otherwise you can just afford to drop the rest because you want to fill up your drop zone with them as much as possible. But yeah, cool, free search, and it works regardless if you're on grade 3 or not, and it works regardless of what your Vanguard is. So if you don't want to run Fennell as your Vanguard for your main ride deck, you can. And then continues rear guard circle during your turn. If your drop zone has 3 more Trick or Treats in it, it gets plus 5k power. Cool. 13k base, which is not too great, but at the same time, when Fennell is giving a free pseudo Persona Ride and or more of a Persona Ride to front row on top of an extra crit to something, including herself, yeah. 4 of is nice for that. If 13k base is more than enough, especially when it searches orders. 4 of. Then we have 4 copies of our PG, Soapy Splash Ravenia. The only one I don't run the Halloween PG in this deck of, and the only reason why I didn't is because I didn't feel like grabbing it when I first built the deck. Great on boost, 0-6k base, continuous Sentinel. You may only have 4 Sentinels in your deck, and it's auto when it's put on guard circle. Choose one of your units, it cannot be hit on the battle, and if your hand has 2 or more cards in it, choose a card from your hand, discard it, standard PG. None specified basically means if this only one of the card is in your hand, you'll place it on guard circle. You don't have to discard one, which is great, because that means you can get aggressive in the early game, and then when your opponent counterattacks, you can throw it down and defend yourself, and then give your opponent the middle finger when they realize that they wasted all their offense on you when you only had 1 hand card, and now you're safe, and now you can return the favor with 2 units that have double critical. Of course, in this deck, though, that would never happen because there's no real reason to rush in the early game, especially because you can literally just deliver pressure in the late game. But, I mean, hey, Ravena's there if you really want to rush in the early game and put your opponent to 4. If you put your opponent to 4, though, before either of you get to grade 3, your opponent's going to have one hell of a time trying to survive this game. So, for Ravena, very nice to have. She helps keep you alive if you do choose to early rush, and if you don't, well, she helps very much in the late game, especially when you have a bunch of orders to discard to fill up your drop zone for numbers, but as discard fodder as well. For Ravena. And then we have last grade 1, one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck of Where's My Only Charm Fennell, grade 1, boost 5k shield, 8k base. So I was wrong earlier. The Rattleline does not require her, but the starter at least. But you know, might as well go for it because for theme, obviously. Anyways, her skills: auto when she's placed by riding from a grade 0 unit. Check the top 7. Jump to 2 trick entries from among them. Reveal them. Put to your hand and shuffle your deck. This ability works like this for me: either I see 2 orders or I don't. I don't know why it's like that. It's either I will see 2 orders flat out or I won't, but that's just how it works. Cool though. Believe it or not, this is actually one of the rear guards I play the most in this deck in. Now you may be wondering, how is that possible? Because, you know, there's only one of in the deck and it's in the ride deck and there's none in the main deck. Well, that would happen to coincide with the grade 2 we're about to go over, who calls stuff from draws. And before we get to her though, cool, top 7 search for free 2 orders. I'll talk about it. Easy one of in the red deck, not in the main deck. Now, if you're wondering why this card is the most played, or one of my most played rear guards I've ever had in this deck, it's because of this card. Potted Spot Ilistina. Grade 2 and set 5k shield, 10k base. The reason why I will consistently have 5 rear guards on my first grade 3 turn. Auto when she's placed on your rear guard circle during your main phase if you've played 3 more orders this turn. By soul blasting 1, chip to 1 normal card with a different card name from this unit from your drop zone called to rear guard. So obviously it's like that because since it can be played from anywhere, including deck, that obviously means that if you had another copy and drop, you can call it from drop, and then you would be able to call more if they didn't put this effect here. But because they did, you know, you only get to call something with a different name, which is why I consistently will Soul Blast out her and call her back. Believe it or not, this is the rear guard that, again, I call one of the most, but also I know for a damn fact, unless I'm playing a board nuke deck, is the one rear guard that will stay on the board the entirety of the match after she's played because I call it to back center where it can't be killed. Yeah, cool. And then the other skill is auto rear guard. When her attack hits a vanguard, search your deck for up to 1 trick and treat, reveal, add it to your hand, shuffle your deck. Cool. On hit pressure, which is nice to have in a deck where you have 2 of the units with double criticals. Either your opponent takes more damage or possibly dies from them, meaning they have to guard them, or they take this one and you get a free order to hand, which therefore means you're set up for next turn. For Bastonia, she's just great. She works well with the deck's pressure output, and she literally gets you rear guards for simple cost of a Soul Blast. 4 up, and she can be played during any moment, and she does activate from drop. She just can't call herself from drop, so if you want to call her via the order, you can very much do that and still proc off her skill. Easy 4 of, amazing grade 2, I love her skill. Then we have 4 copies of One Night Witch Stray J. Grade 2 set 5k shield, 10k base. Now this card is not inherently a Fennell support card, but the way her skill works implies that she is. Auto when she's placed on rear guard circle other than by unit card's ability, so sadly not either herself, though she can place herself by her skill, or Ilstania sadly, but hey, this isn't a unit card, so that procs it off. Anyways, when placed by non-unit card ability, if you played a normal order this turn, Soul Blast 1, look at the top 5 cards of your deck, to 1 card and reveal it with a grade less than equal to your vanguard, call it to rear guard if it's a unit card, put it to your hand if it's a normal order, and shuffle your deck. So sadly, it will call a Persona Rite if you end up revealing a Persona Rite, but being able to add an order to your hand, aka this, is a nice target. Again, it can call her Zildjian will proc off her ability. The other thing to note is, it just says it can't be placed by a unit card's ability. Now, I did establish that that does proc off via orders call. However, you can just hard call her, and then as long as you put an order that turn, her effect will still proc off, which is nice. And then auto rear guard, when she attacks a grade 3 guard or vanguard, if she was placed this turn by any means, whether it was by ability or just by normal calling or wherever from, Counter Blast 1, draw a card, and she'll get to 10k for the turn. Cool. She's the reason why this deck will run into CB problems, because you always want to use CB for Finel, and you also want to use CB for Searcher. So this ability is the reason why you run into CB problems, but cool. Draw, and she's a 20k swing, and this is typically what you give the extra care from Finel skill to. 4 of rear guards combos well with this, considering this is normally what I call from her skill, and if not her, then this, and obviously we both know this comes down from this, this comes down from this, so, you know, being able to get rear guards is great, and being a 20k swing with a possible double crit on her is pretty nice as well. So, 4 of Stray Jet, just good grade 2, gets rear guards, gets numbers, gets pressure, what's like about her, easy 4 of. Then we have last grade 2, one of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, of With a Genuine Smile, Fennell. Grade 10 set 5k shield, 10k base. Auto when she is placed by riding from a grade 1 unit. Check the top 7 for up to 2 trick and treats from on them, reveal and put your hand, shuffle your deck. Cool, literally does the exact same thing as the grade 1, just does it for grade 2s instead, or for riding from grade 1s instead. All around though, pretty solid, free orders. Not much more I can say about that. One of in the ride deck, none in the main deck, and just like her, it tends to be is either 2 or there's none, but she tends to pull off more consistently 2 than she used to pull off more consistently 2. They both pull off 2 consistently, it's just that I noticed the grade 2 rarely fails compared to the grade 1. So yeah, one of Finel in the ride deck. Then we have our last card in the deck, 3 of in the main deck, 1 of in the ride deck of thing I was one of my favorite grade 3s in terms of design, and then when I started playing against her, slowly became my least favorite of all of them, simply because of how much hell I have to deal with fighting her. Triple Trick Fennell. Grade 3, Twin Drive, Persona Ride, 13k base, continuous Vanguard Circle. During your turn, you may play 3 or more orders. You cannot play order cards other than Trick or Treats and Regalia pieces. Now, I want to let them be clear. You can only run Regalia's piece as one-ofs in your deck. But if by some unfortunate miracle of God, if for some reason Bushy chooses to make Regalia's pieces able to be played more than once per game, that means you can play the triple Persona Ride, or actually wait, no, I think the triple Persona Ride order means you can't activate Persona Ride more than once. But in case that's how it works, I'm pretty sure it says you can't activate Persona Ride more than once that turn. But if you could for some reason, that means triple Persona Ride, but I'm pretty sure that's not how it would work, but cool. Anyways, 3 or more orders between Trick or Treat and Regalia's pieces. Thankfully, we have these 3. And then his other skill is Auto Vanguard. When she attacks, if you play 3 more orders this turn, the first match, well, not the first match I play with this, but in the first, rounds that I play with this, whatever the deck I debuted Fennell against was, I think it may have been Alden, I learned that this ability literally doesn't proc off if you don't play 3 orders that turn, so, be wary about that. But anyways, Auto Vanguard, when she attacks, if you play 3 more orders this turn, for just 1 CB, just 1 CB, just 1 CB, choose one of your rear guards. Until end of turn, both that and this unit get a crit for the turn. And then all your front row units get 2k power for each Trick or Treat in your drop zone. You guaranteedly will have 3 by this thing's effect alone, so that's at least +6 to front row. I tend to have between 4 and 5 consistently. That's a Persona, and remember, if you read that skill correctly, none of that requires the opponent to be at grade 3. That means on first grade 3 turn, you have 2 units, one of them being the Vanguard, the other probably being this thing, that have a double critical, and you have a Persona Ride to your front row, technically. And then again, if you are like me, you will probably pull double crits, or you will pull crit into front. Do you want me to tell you how many times I have watched Finel pull double crits on first grade 3 turn with that exact scenario being the case? Every single game. In fact, here, let me run you through the exact formation almost every single game goes through on first grade 3 turn. Fennell, let's just say, for the benefit of the doubt, I have the least amount of orders I normally have, which is typically 4 in drop zone. So, and then I have this in the top right-hand corner. This is in the top left-hand corner. This is behind Vanguard Circle. And then there are 2 of these behind my rear guards. So, the Vanguard swings boosted by this for 21k. We counterblast 1, get +8, 29k. Her and this both have double critical. My opponent typically takes it. They're at 1 or 2 damage. First checks are both crits. Specifically, they are normally both this, or a combination of the 2. That has happened almost every single game I play with this deck. I'm not kidding you. That is a genuine thing. I don't know why it's like that. It just is. Cool. As for the deck, I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, this deck is literally just crits on legs. That's literally what it does, and it does its job very well. We have pressure thanks to this. We have pseudo Persona Rides thanks to this. This adds even more pressure to it. And then this is the thing that just guarantees your setup next turn unless your opponent guards that one too. This just helps add to your setup. This just is great as ride deck fodder or discard fodder in general. These 2 hate me when I want the deck to lose. And then this hates me even more when I want the deck to lose. Yeah, this deck doesn't even need the over. I rarely see the over in this deck. It doesn't even need it. The deck does enough pressure as is. But, if you see the over, your opponent's probably going to lose on top of that as well. So I was going to end this right here. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on follow Twitch. I'll see you on the next one. And hopefully, the next time I play this deck or play against it, I won't have to deal with the crit tagging about it anymore. So I'll see you all then. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, join us on follow Twitch. And don't forget to stand up your Vanguards.